How could you do that to them? How could you do that? I know you have, what, 2 children? How could you do that to them? Because they're going to listen to you and they say, well, if Dad does it, then I can do it. Junior, you're smashing an egg against this guy's face. I taught you that. I didn't teach you that. Who taught you that? Did Karen teach you that? Who taught you that? That's disgraceful. I'm gonna stand in your corner. You must be mad. You must be mad. I would never be in your corner. You're a disgrace. You're smashing an egg in someone's face, and then you're trying to justify it. There's no justification for that. There's nothing noble about that.
And those are the words of Chris Eubank Sr., okay? And regards to Conor, Benn, and Chris Eubank Jr., he calls the whole thing a disgrace. He gets on Conor, Benn, and, he goes in on Conor, Benn like, hey, you're talking, you're swearing, you're cussing every breath, and you're supposed to be a Christian, Hey, I mean, a lot of people don't like to be judged based on their actions, but it is what it is. And then with Chris, he's like, there's no justification for that. I didn't teach you that. What your mom taught you that, Karen? What your mom taught you that? Because I didn't. Now, let me counterpunch. I can appreciate the approach of Chris Eubank Sr. Is it a bit stern? Sure. But if you stand on your heel about the things you believe or how people should conduct themselves, especially someone that carries your name, all right, I say, by God, do it. Be that way and and own it. He pretty much attacked everybody, even Nigel, because he was like, well, Nigel, you sit there and let your son cuss every breath. And then his kids are going to see it one day and they're going to think it's cool, so they're going to do it. So obviously Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank Sr. are 2 different people, just like Chris Eubank and Conor Benn are 2 different people. And whatever happened between Senior and Junior, I don't think it could be rectified in one day or one phone call. I think they will reconcile one day, probably when Chris is finished fighting, which if he loses won't be too soon. It'll be I think, they may get together one day. But then again, I'm looking at Chris Eubank Sr. He wanted his son a totally different way than his son is being. But I'll say this in defense of Chris Eubank Jr. Chris Eubank Jr. has to be his own man. Just like Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. had to be his own man. Now, did it live up to his father? No. I don't think it could have been if he was a decent fighter, which he's just okay. He had power. But I don't think anything else was really engraved in Junior, for example. But he had to do it his own way. And Sugar Shane Mosley Jr., Felix Trinidad Jr., which Jr. was actually better than Felix Trinidad Sr., just like Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather Jr. was better than Floyd Mayweather. So, sometimes it changes hands. And I think it does take someone growing up and learning their own path to do their own thing. But and again, that has nothing to do with Chris Eubank Sr.'s opinion about those 2 fighters. He made some good points on Seconds Out. I listened to the whole video yesterday, and he was saying that like a lot of things they're allowing to happen are happening. They don't supposed to happen. Like the rehydration. People get killed by that. He made a good point with that. Just to make a fight, somewhat even. If Conor Benn felt he could beat Chris Eubank Jr., especially with a rehydration clause, he should have just made the weight, just like Kell Brook did, just like Canelo Alvarez did, just like a lot of fighters that went to 160 and actually did. You know what I mean? It didn't have to be a championship on the line, but what it had to be is something fair. Because the rehydration is bad on all fighters. you can stroke out on a rehydration clause. Then he went in on Matchroom. He helped Barry Hearn, just like Anthony Joshua, continue Matchroom, start Matchroom. Sr. did with Barry Hearn. And he questioned Barry Hearn. Like, where is that Matchroom at? You gave it to your son that's, letting everything happen and allowing things to be done that shouldn't be done. So, yeah, Chris Eubank Sr. went in on a lot of people, and you can't just say, oh, well, it's, he's just doing this. No, he is attacking the whole system, the mentality behind it. He is trying to break the will, just by speaking his piece. Chris Eubank Jr. felt that, the egg thing, that was surprising. Was it necessary? No. Did he get fined, and will he probably have to pay out of pocket? Yeah. So no, anybody that costs you any type of money deduction, right, and you ain't even fought yet, nah, it's not worth it. But I'll leave you guys with this. The funny thing about Chris Eubank Sr., and I don't know if he realized it, I don't know if you guys realized it, Sr. and Jr. pretty much said the same thing. Think about it. Chris Eubank Sr. said, well, hey, whatever happened to Matchroom, and had so much integrity when I was there, when I was with Barry, and Barry was a totally different guy than Eddie, and, what happened to it? Because it's changed, right? What about all this rehydration stuff that's not legal that they're trying to make legal, right? Compared to what Chris Eubank Jr. said. All these promoters, a lot of them are scumbags. That looks like it's in the same ballpark, if you ask me, guys. But you guys tell me what you think of Chris Eubank Sr. putting it out there, setting it straight, telling his truth. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch.